All righty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a big edition of Blue Sunday here, the 28th of April. Paul Sebastiani is my name, stepping in for Joe Lutzer. We've got Vince Lochisano, Big Vincenz as usual. Vince, hello, mate.
G'day, Paul, and geez, it's terrific to see you on the other side of the on the other side of the screen for a change. It's nice of you to join us, and thanks for filling in for Joe, who's very busy taking some sort of tour over there in Thailand. And of course, our show is sponsored by his company, so we'll let him off the hook for this week. But I'm sure he'll be back next week. So thanks for stepping in, mate. Much appreciated.
No, absolute pleasure, mate. The favourite's been scratched, and I'm the sub rule, mate. So I'm in for the punters, mate. So there's a heavy reliance on me to steer the ship tonight, mate. So I might need a bit of help from you too.
Oh, don't worry. I'll help you out as best I can. But unfortunately, from where I am, I can't really put up anything up on screen or anything like that. But I'll certainly try and guide you if I can. And if all else fails, I'll go through some stuff using my phone. That's about all I can do.
I'll tell you what, from a graphics point of view, I've got absolutely no idea what's going on. Usually tech is something I'm pretty good with, but I reckon I might need to make a few phone calls during the broadcast to try and get some graphics up, mate, because it's not really my strong suit. It doesn't really matter. You know what? People want to hear what we have to say, not what a bunch of pictures have to say.
That's true, but if you have to go off and contact someone while me and Rhys talk about the game, by all means do that. But otherwise, we'd love you to join us in analysing the game because, of course, you are one of the foremost analysts of AFL football in general. And
thank you.
Being a passionate Carlton man, I'm sure your analysis of Carlton games is better than just about everyone else I can think of.
Well, I'd like to think so, given I get paid to do it for a living as well. So if it's not up to scratch, I think I'm struggling. But no, it's not about me tonight. It's about all of us together as a Carlton Football Club and the Carlton faithful. Of course, David Rhys Jones is going to join us very, very shortly. He's in the green room at the moment getting his beautiful face make up for us here on Blue Sunday. Because he's got a big appearance coming up, mate. He's got a big appearance coming up.
Yes, he has. Coming up on Tuesday night on the Jumper Punch.
Indeed.
Where he will be live.
Yes,
and,
he will be live.
And, of course, with you and with your cousin Mars and with Rocco, of course. Not only going through the highlights of his career, but talking about all things Carlton and also it'll be the eve of the month that we raise money as much as we can for the Prader-Willi Association.
Yep.
And we'll talk with Rhys about that a little bit later.
Yeah, we definitely will. He's a good one from Enzo.
There's Enzo. It was good to see Enzo on the Jumper Punch last Tuesday night. It was fantastic.
I was actually glad I actually got there from work because it was looking a bit dodgy at the moment. Work's just been absolutely insane with radio and TV, with greyhounds and harness racing and thoroughbred racing and footy and soccer.
Yes.
It's been crazy, mate. It's been insane.
There you go.
It's been a lot of fun, though. It's been a lot of fun watching the footy too.
Yes, well, it wasn't it a fantastic game yesterday, hey?
For us, it
really was. Well, I think football purists would have any football purist would have really enjoyed yesterday's game. Let's be frank. Yeah. I mean, I know we lost, and I know it's disappointing to lose, but I just think that there's so many lessons that can be learnt from that game, and I think it'll hold us in good stead for the second half of the year and also heading into the finals, where I'm sure the boys will look forward to some sort of rematch against Geelong. They are I guess in some people's eyes the reigning champs from 2 years ago, and they had a bit of a blip last year, but they're certainly back in the firing line for another premiership, having won their first 7 games of the year. So they are still very much the yardstick, and we've got another big game next week against last year's premiers. So 2 games in a row against the last 2 premiers.
Absolutely. LR in the chat as well. Good evening to everybody in the chat. Make sure you like, subscribe, share the link around as well. Share and copy the link to your friends and family and whoever else you think would be interested in having a chat with us and tuning in. This is the most interesting name for a user I've seen and I always see this name pop up. Rat Poison, Daughter of a Suicide. Hi, just tuning in. Always see the comments of Rat Poison. They're fantastic as well. So very good evening to you. Darren Thomas, did you guys go to the game?
I'm going to start calling him Rat Sack from now on.
Yeah, we might need a bit. We might need a bit this Friday night at the G, mate. There'll be a few rats running around the joint. Yes, Darren and I was at the game yesterday, and the crowd was absolutely fantastic. You went there, Vince, because you've been moving and grooving, haven't you?
I have, yes. Big move over the last 2 or 3 days. So, mate, I haven't even got my usual Carlton gear on for the show tonight, so forgive me for that.
Well,
I managed to find the cap. I managed to find the cap and a scarf. Not that they're in the best of condition, but yeah, they'll do for now.
Peter V's in the house. Yeah, he's definitely got more facial hair, mate. Peter V's here. Frankie's
and by the way,
house.
just while we're welcoming some of our regulars. To everyone that may be watching and isn't aware, we are on the Jumper Punch channel. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you press the button. It doesn't cost you anything to do so. No. And also, if you can give us a like and a share, that would be tremendous. So
absolutely.
The show is brought to you by Joe's Tour Company, Retired Working for You Tours, which is, I think, RW number 4, then the letter U. tours.com.au or is it .com? I'm not sure. I think it's .com.
Either way.
Anyway,
people can figure it out.
Yes, and that's the website for Retired Working for You.
Seba.
So if you're ever wanting to go to Thailand, give Joe a buzz.
Indeed. Sounds good. Paul Mentor's in the chat. Enzo Valentino, Wayne Montgomery, Big Tony's in the chat as well.
Yes.
Tony. This is an interesting comment. Brian.
G'day, Brian. Brian's he's a brilliant Carlton man, Brian. Great to see you with us, Brian.
Very good call from Brian. I like this a lot. So the chat's up and about. We love it.
One in April. That's true. Yep.
We absolutely love it. Speaking of premierships, shall we welcome in our, people saying the best analyst in the room. He probably is now, given that he's in the house. We're going head-to-head when it comes to this. But premiership player for the Blues, of course, guest here. He's not really a guest. He's part of the furniture now here on the Jumper Punch.
Expert commentator.
Sundays. Expert commentator, premiership player with the Blues. He's going to be joining us on the Jumper Punch this Tuesday as well. We speak of the great David Rhys Jones. David, very good evening to you. This is our maiden, you and I. We're breaking our maiden, mate.
Yes, yeah. I'm a bit worried. What's happening to Joe? I don't know, those lady boy bars.
I guarantee you that Joe is swanning around on some island there in Thailand enjoying himself. Don't you worry about him.
No, good on him. Be a bit. Well, actually, we had a lovely day today, so it hasn't been too bad. I was going to say the weather's been, weather obviously be a bit warmer over there, but no, it's all good. And the game yesterday was. I wasn't all that disappointed in the end. I thought, it's funny. I looked at the injury list for both clubs, and I think Geelong have about 4 injuries on their whole list at the moment.
Yep.
And God, we've got about 44, but it feels like that. But we've got probably, 10 of our best players out, and for us to perform that well and even give us there's a little bit of life there at that end. Akers coming in, kicking a couple of goals, and miracles can happen, and you sort of we're at that stage where we're starting to believe in the players and the team. So
I've got it.
Even though it's only a couple of minutes to go, you get that belief. And I think, there's a lot of players in there who probably won't be part of our best team. And, so they're playing a role and they're doing it pretty well. So I wasn't all that disappointed. I was probably more disappointed in our delivery into the forward line at times and some of those bloody umpire decisions. That's what disappointed me. Is dropping the ball still dropping the ball? I mean, give me a spell. I mean, you tackle a person, the ball drops to the ground. That is a free kick every day of the week, but it doesn't seem like the rules change every week, it seems.
Yeah, the umpiring yesterday was abhorrent, to be honest. It's not because it's a Carlton game or anything like that. I don't think we can get into the mold of blaming the umpires. I think they have an effect to some point, but there were specific decisions yesterday, as you mentioned, David, just with the dropping of the ball, incorrect disposal not being paid, that 50-metre penalty against Harry Mackay. He was behind the mark.
Well, it looked to me like looked to me that Patrick Cripps was actually on the mark.
He was,
and Harry was to the side of it and moving away. So it makes no sense. Makes no sense. But
no, it didn't.
I've never been a fan of the umpires and probably never will be. But, but I did say it. No, and I watch a bit of footy and it frustrates me even if Carlton aren't playing. I get frustrated watching the umpiring at the moment. I think at least a third of the handballs given these days are throws, but they just shovel the ball out over their head, and the punches, and they're not punching the ball legitimately as you're supposed to do with a handball. Hold it in one hand, hit it with the other, and so it gets to be frustrating and just watching footy at the moment, which it shouldn't be. I mean, there's 4 umpires out there, for God's sake. It was better umpired when there was 2 umpires back in our day, and they weren't scared to make decisions.
Yeah. And the goal line call as well for Ollie Henry's mark. I don't know how they came up with, we've got sufficient evidence to pay that a mark. They use the camera from behind his back to pay the mark without the ball.
How do you know when he actually took the mark? Yeah,
I don't know. It seemed very dodgy to me.
And even just the bounce of the ball, a few times, it didn't go our way. It was just one of those matches that things just didn't work well for us. But I thought they stuck on gamely and performed pretty well. I wasn't overly disappointed, and I think if they had as many injuries as we had, we would have beat them pretty easily. So and once again, Jeremy Cameron was a thorn in our side. He almost beat us single-handedly last year, and he was fantastic again. He's and that's why you need your better backman, I suppose, back in there, and we need a solid back line to be able to maintain and handle those types of players, because Weeders does a great job back there, but he can't do it by himself.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, actually, just to go back to what you said earlier, David, and I'll ask you this, Vince, and then I'll come to you, David. The finish for us, the way we went down swinging, do you think it was important for us to show that, given that it was slightly getting out of hand? I thought that was, and I know we lost, but I'm trying not to look too much at the result. I actually thought that final 10 minutes for us where we finished with the burst was a sign of a team that has mentally evolved as a group, because I think in the past we would have dropped our heads and that would have blown out to beyond 8 goals, Vince. To me, it was really important we did what we did in those final few moments.
Oh, look, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think a lot of people were thinking when Geelong got, I think, their 17th goal to go 33 points up, some people were thinking, oh, God, this could blow out if we do drop our heads. And the fact that the boys still knuckled down and fought back and got to within 8 points with still close to 4 minutes to go. And I thought, geez, I wonder if we're going to pull this off again. But unfortunately, we didn't win the next clearance, and then Geelong got it forward, and Jeremy Cameron eventually scored a goal and put the result beyond doubt. But look, I think it was very important that we fought back the way we did, and I think psychologically that shows a bit of maturity, that we weren't prepared to let it blow out like that. It would have been, to a large extent, an unjustified loss of 8 goals if it had blown out. But then again, maybe a Carlton side from 4 or 5 years ago would have let that happen. But I was very encouraged to see that, and I think a lot of Carlton people would have left the ground feeling, okay, we've lost, but geez, we've really shown that we belong in this, I guess, in this group of teams up the top end. And I don't think we can wait for the rematch. It was almost like it felt to me like a title fight between the aging superstars from a couple of years ago up against the young up and coming whippersnappers that are challenging and biting at their ankles. And we just didn't quite have the class or the finishing touch or the efficiency with ball in hand to make them pay. And every time we turned the ball over, they tended to make us really pay for that. And I'm not 100% sure of the scores on turnover, but I dare say Geelong would have comprehensively beaten us in that area.
Yeah, their efficiency was ridiculously ruthless. What about you, David? The end for us. Yeah, go ahead, Vince. Go ahead,
I was just going to ask Rhys, what did you think of the message from the coach after the game? Because again, a lot of coaches might have said, "Oh, I was proud of the boys, proud of the effort, proud of this, proud of that." But Michael Voss was not brutal, entertaining any of that sort of talk. He was brutal. He said, "No, unacceptable, not good enough. We need to be better." And I actually was glad to hear that from him. What did you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I think they'll look back over that tape and look at the mistakes they made. And there were some real bad turnovers that really did cost us. And they were able to take the ball from end to end, which we weren't able to do. We weren't able to force them into those sort of errors and get the easy goals. We had to work hard for all our goals. So, yeah, it was that, and getting back on the finish of the game, you're 100% right. Getting to that 33 points down mark, a side of only probably 18 months ago or less would have, capitulated and just thrown the towel in. And these blokes don't give up. I mean, that's been a real good sign. That's what I think makes you proud of your team. And I think that's the one thing these guys are doing. And it's been a long time since, Carlton people can really come out and say, look, I'm proud of the way the guys are playing. And, this team is making us proud. And they're fighting it out to the end. And it's won them a couple of games. So, I'm as I said, we're well undermanned in from our best, and they're pretty close to it. Without Tom Stewart, he was the only one that wasn't available, and who'd be able to play. And and it was their older guys too. I mean, Patrick Dangerfield early was just fantastic, and I thought Tui had a pretty good game too. He just seemed to bob in at the wrong time for us anyway. And how did we get rid of him? How did we get rid of?
We weren't prepared to match the offer. We weren't prepared to match the offer for him. Yeah.
They lowballed him.
And we're going so well then to be able to let a player go too, weren't we?
Yeah.
Can I just, Paul, suggest? I'm not sure if you've got the what do they call it? The visual, the pop-up screen. I don't know. Have you got the results of the match there?
I can try and I literally just messaged Rocco asking him.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we might have to do this verbally.
Yeah.
We might have to do this verbally.
Usually I'm on top of these tech things, mate, but tonight it's not my strong suit, mate. I feel 70 years old.
That's all right. We're all over the place tonight. I'm sure our viewers will forgive us. Let's just quickly go over the result and the major goal kickers. Of course, the final scores were Geelong 18 goals, 10, 118 to Carlton 15-15, 105, a 13-point victory. Now, of course, the quarter-by-quarter scores, you'll see there that really the quarter that determined the result more than any other. No, I know that. I'm telling you about it, Rhys. Thanks for that. The first quarter, 5 goals, 32 to Carlton's 2 goals, 20. Now, that's 10 scoring shots for us and 7 for them.
And an out of bounds on the full. Don't forget
and another one out of bounds on the full, exactly. And in the end, Geelong were up by 12 points and ended up winning by 13. So from quarter time onwards, both teams scored 13 goals. 13 goals, 8 to Geelong and 13 goals, 7 to Carlton. So, I know that there were different momentum changes throughout the game, but they always had us at arm's length, didn't they? It always felt like we just couldn't get close enough or couldn't quite get our noses in front. And other than a very, I think, a small amount of time, maybe 2 or 3 minutes in that first quarter, we never actually hit the lead again for the rest of the game. So in the end, those crucial misses in the first quarter were the ones that probably told most in the end. Goal kickers for Carlton, Charlie Curnow kicked 3 goals, 2. Harry Mackay kicked 2 goals, 2. Akers kicked 2, Cripps 2, Hollands, as in Elijah Hollands, kicked 2. And then you had singles to Carroll, Boyd, Cottrell and Kennedy. So I guess an even distribution of goal kickers in our total of 15 goals, 15. For Geelong, just briefly, Jeremy Cameron, 5 goals, 1. To a large extent was probably
there we go.
The difference.
We've got something here. Hold on a minute.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Henry kicked 3, Tui had 3, and Myers had 2, and then singles to 5 other players. So there you go. You've got your result there, Paul.
I got something up. There we go.
Someone put it up.
I've done it. Victory.
Terrific.
There
Wonderful.
We go. How good's that?
Now, have you got the stats by any chance?
Hold on, we might have something here. Hey, here we go. Hold on a minute. Wait a minute.
No,
Let's get him back up. Hold on. We'll get him back up. Hold on a minute.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Stay tuned.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Now these are our. I'm always told by Joe to make it only 10 maximum, so I'm always trying to milk it for all it's worth. So you'll see there under disposals, you had 333 to Geelong and 368 to Carlton. I'm looking at these stats, by the way, Paul. Yep. I thought to myself, have I got this wrong? Have I got the two teams wrong? Because it looked to me like Carlton should have won by about 5 goals.
Well, when you don't execute in front of goal, as you would very well know, David, you open yourself up to being beaten by good opposition, don't you? It's as simple as that. It was not through lack of, said it last time, it was not through lack of tactical nous. It was not through lack of application. It was not through lack of performance. It was not through lack of us not being able to set Geelong up and make them vulnerable. No. The fact of the matter was we did not execute with ball in hand on the day, and that can happen. That can happen.
The biggest 2 telling stats there that show you why we lost were down the bottom.
Yep.
Inside 50 efficiency.
Yep.
Geelong only had the 28 scoring shots, but that was from 45 inside 50 entries. Mm-hmm. That's 62%. Carlton had 30 scoring shots from a whopping 66 entries for only 45%. And then when you look at shooting accuracy, that doubles the effect, because then Geelong scored at 64%, getting 18 goals from their 28 shots for goal.
Yep.
Or 28 scoring shots. And Carlton, 50%, 15 goals from 30 scoring shots. And as you said, when you count the ones that went out of bounds, it should probably be less than that. They're the two telling stats, I should say. Yeah. But otherwise, if you look through all the others, and I won't go through them all in detail now, but you can see that Carlton actually had the edge in every other category.
Yeah. I think it was, and I don't know if you agree with this, David, too, but it was one of those games I felt that if we had played like that any other time and executed a little better, we would have beaten opposition. And if you set the ground up the way we did offensively, you probably win most games. But I think the fact of the matter is that Boss just summed it up perfectly. He just said, you can't leak like that defensively and expect to win. And I'll also add to that, if you score your goals and if you put the score on the board with regards to goals, you stop the opposition from having that chance as well, because the ball goes back into the dispute in the middle. You're not handing them the ball back, David.
Yeah, exactly. And the one stat that sticks out there is 66 times inside 50 and compared to 45. That's 21 more times we went inside 50 than Geelong. And they looked like they're going to score every time they went in there, just about. They just looked dangerous every single time. And I'd say out of that 45, it might have just bounced over the 50 a couple of times and bounced back out. But, so I really think, we need to work on and this is where I think a guy like Fogarty is really missed. And people will criticise him, he doesn't do enough, but he keeps the ball in there. He helps us keep the ball in there. And unfortunately, the two smaller players in there, Owies and Durden, didn't, really contribute much at all. And you really needed something out of one or both of them. And I've quite often said, how would you like to have Eddie Betts in there these days, running around at the feet of Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow. That'd be great and havoc. I mean, and the other one was, we should have got Tom Papley. I mean, I remember when that negotiation was going on, I nearly rang Sauce myself to say, just get the bloke. Jesus Christ, pay him whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's a darn good footballer.
It was an area we were lacking in, and
it is. Yeah, it is. I think I tell you what, Motlop and Martin would be something special in that forward line at the moment as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah, apparently Motlop was trying the house down pre-season and looking fantastic. So it's unfortunate, but injuries do happen. And Jack Martin's just a class player. He's I don't think we've seen the best of him yet by a long way either. So I think, but he's got to get playing football. He's got to, he's got to be playing games, and he's able to do that last year. And unfortunately, he hasn't, played it all this year. So it's disappointing that way. But if we can get him up for, come the dance time, look out.
Yeah, exactly. I'll ask you this, Vince, as well. And having watched the game, it felt like our entries inside forward 50 were deep and they were in the right areas. That to me, from where I was at my vantage point, level 4, next to the we're row C, level 4, so you kind of see the ground perfectly, and you can see how the teams operate tactically, which is great. And I felt like our entries were actually really good. And I was just looking at, and I think you could compare not opposition, but just the way the games were played. This game and the Adelaide game, high scoring, end-to-end, transition-based to a certain point. And I felt our shot quality against Adelaide, as in where we were having our shots from, was quite difficult. We missed like 5 to 6 shots from around about that 49 to 53 metre mark, but on tight angles. Whereas this game, I'm looking at our misses, and we've missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shots from effectively, almost directly in front, slide angle, in between that sort of 35 to 50 metre area. And if you bury a few of those shots, you probably go on to win the game. But because the margins are so fine in this competition, all it takes is a few missed shots, a few missed spoils, a few errant defensive moments like we saw with Lewis Young, Ollie Henry. I know the mark probably shouldn't have been paid, but the margins are just so fine, David, and you cannot give an opposition like Geelong anything. You cannot give them anything.
No, they're a quality team. I mean, they won a premiership a couple of years ago, so and they're still really in the mix. And if their players all stand up as they are at the moment, they're going to be very hard to beat. And they're getting players like Guthrie back is he's a quality player. I think they really miss him, and their drop last year was probably attributed to missing blokes like him. So getting him back in the team is a bonus. And they're a good team. I mean, I look through the reserves game, and they had some bloody good footballers running around the reserves yesterday. So it's handy when you don't have injuries. Unfortunately, it's hurting us at the moment, the injury factor, and from what I'm hearing, Chera and maybe McGovern back this week, and if we could get both of them and they're both right, it'd be fantastic, because I think we need both of them to bolster our stocks and be able to, it'll help us a lot.
Yeah. Vince, what did you make of Pito's game? Thought he was fantastic again. I thought he was really, really good.
Yes.
Midfield sets the tone, doesn't he?
My word. Look, I said last week, I think I saw him play his best game ever for Carlton, and he's gone and played an even better one this week. I was very tempted to put him in my votes, to be honest. I was really tossing up whether to give him a vote or not. But look, I thought he got off to a flying start. He was even roving his own ball and getting as many clearances as anyone else out of the middle. He was very important. At quarter time, I think he might have been probably best on ground by a fair way. But, look, he battled hard, and De Koning gave him some good backup. And, I think Pitternet has proven in the last couple of weeks that he can play up to the level and be a very valuable ruckman that competes hard with the real big bullies that are out there. And, maybe the two of them can be in the same side, even though I called for earlier in the year to basically give De Koning the responsibility on his own. And he certainly stood up in the first 4 weeks or 5 weeks, but we've seen Pitnet come back in the last 2 weeks and he's been very, very good.
Yeah. David, your thoughts on Pitto? He throws his weight around, doesn't he? He looks fit.
Yeah, look, I've been a fan of him for a long time, and I think he's going to be crucial to us, and I'm glad they re-signed him for 4 or 5 years, wasn't it? And extra because you need good big men, and he's not going to be a Max Gawn or anything like that, but he's just going to be a workhorse. He's going to do the job. He's going to do the heavy, hard work. Make it easy for our midfielders. It takes a lot of pressure off blokes like Cripper and our inside midfielders if you've got a bullock in hard bloke in there, and the other bloke's just not quite there yet in the ruck. And I was looking forward, and I think I've mentioned it a few times in the past that I was really looking forward to when Pitto did come back into the team and De Koning going forward. But and De Koning down forward, he had his chance. He had his, got his hands to a few balls. They just didn't stick.
I was going to say he was about the only one that let us down a bit in front of goal, kicking 3 points and no goals.
Yeah, well, he didn't seem on as he was the week before as well. Yeah. And I think they were competing against each other too much, or we're just a bit too predictable bringing the ball into our forward line. And there were times where, Geelong just outnumbered us, and there was no way anyone was. Harry McColl was the only one down there who was going to take a mark. And he did take a couple, but he was the only one big enough and strong enough in those pack situations where the Geelong defenders were just hell-bent on thumping the ball away. And then it did hit the ground. I'm going, where's our bloody small forwards? Where the bloody hell are they? There were Geelong people everywhere, and where were our blokes? So, there's a few things we really need to work on our forward line. And I think we're going to change direction when we're going in there too. Either lower the eyes, go a bit shorter, hit 30 metres. Don't hit 15 metres out. Hit 30 metres out from goal, 45 minutes. Change things around or change the angles. And but you've got to have players moving, and they're going to be leading, and there's got to be space there for them to run into. And put it this way, if you put the ball up and out in front of Charlie Curnow, and it wouldn't matter if there is a player there, he will jump and take the mark. And they just need to utilise our forwards, and we just got to get smarter going in there.
Spot on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think noticed that in the second quarter, sorry, Paul, I was just going to say, I noticed that many times in the second quarter especially, the bombing of the ball down into the forward line and Zach Guthrie coming across and intercepting ball after ball after ball, basically playing the Tom Stewart role. I was thinking to myself, don't these guys see what's going on here? I mean, and don't the coaches get the message out? Stop bombing it into the forward line the way you are. Yeah. Actually lower your eyes and kick it to a lead.
Yeah. I think it's probably a twofold thing with that, because those two boppers, Mackay and Charlie, are just so good in the air. You're almost it's hard not to kick it to them. Do you know what I mean? When you're a player, it's hard not to kick it to it, because they attract so much attention, not just from opposition, but from their teammates as well. And the only thing I'll say, probably two things on it, is I felt for moments in that game, Charlie's connection, and I don't mean the intangible connection mentally or whatever it is. I mean the actual connection between him being too far away from where the ball was being delivered from compared to the kicker. I noticed a few times he was leading back and he ended up 70 metres away from the ball, and it allows Geelong to cut off that lane and come across and intercept. And if he's got 2 or 3 players on him, someone else has to be free. How we manufacture that free option or that short hit up to allow the one-on-ones inside forward 50 is what we need to get better at. And I think that's where 2 players like Jack Martin and Lockie Fogarty, their work rate is going to allow us to be able to hit up that short half forward kick, about 60 to 65 out. Then you're able to get your numbers back in. And when you get those numbers back in and people are running everywhere, defenses just aren't set. and everything is chaos. And that's when you start kicking goals. And that's when you're also able to lock the ball in your front half, which I felt we did. We've had 24 tackles inside 50, 66 entries, repeat entries. To me, it felt that it was just a transition going back the other way. When Geelong picked through us, they were just ruthlessly efficient. And that's how they won the game. They used that short, sharp ball movement. And that's probably our kryptonite. When opposition are able to get uncontested ball and move the ball short against us, it makes our high press a bit vulnerable. And you saw that on the weekend. So, look, it was frustrating. But the beauty about it is, gentlemen, is that they're things we can work on in season. It's not major surgery. It's just a little tweaking and finding, and I think filing of the edges, I think, is what we're looking at now.
Yeah, exactly right. I agree with you there, and they were able to capitalise on our mistakes, and it's funny because on the TV, I think there was mention that Carlton's look slow compared to Geelong. Well, you do look slow when you're chasing bums, and they were able to slingshot though, and do it effectively, and we weren't able to contain that. And I think, our back line, was a little bit inexperienced, and
good call.
We did have some. Some problems down there, I suppose, and that'll be rectified in time, and we'll get players back in there.
Do you know what it will be rectified with? It will be rectified with time and in time, but it will be rectified with time, because if you actually look at that back line, Vince, and it's no excuse because the players there are good enough and they should have been better yesterday. There's no sugarcoating that, but Jordan Boyd hasn't played 50 games. Brodie Kemp hasn't played 50 games. Lewis Young, very, very limited. Wiedering was fantastic against Hawkins. The matchup that killed us was Jeremy Cameron, and we probably didn't have a bloke for him back there. He was such an awkward matchup. That's probably the McGovern matchup, I would have assumed.
That was going to be my question of Rhys. Who is the right matchup for Jeremy Cameron? Because they tried Lewis Young, they tried Brodie Kemp. Is it McGovern or is it someone else?
Yeah, well... Yeah, I think McGovern would have been the go-to.
Play on him instead.
No, Wiedering wouldn't have kept up with him, to be perfectly honest.
No.
But put it this way, Jeremy Cameron was in their back line. Jeremy Cameron was he covered the whole ground. It's something I'd like to see Charlie Curnow doing at times, because he's such a great athlete and he's got that ability to get up and down, but he just seems to anchor himself inside the 50 and, very rarely get out of there. So I think in time, it could be something we could use. And when Charlie's probably not going as well as, and it's a confidence thing, push him up the ground, push him right up the ground so he can get a touch and get a feel for the ball and get a bit of confidence. And, I'd love to see him playing that type of role, and then you've still got De Koning and Harry Mackay inside 50, so you got no excuse. You've got your marking options in there, and he's such a penetrating kick too, Charlie, when he does swing and kick, and so he could cause some problems up there. But let's wait and see how the powers to be look at it, and hopefully they're watching this show.
I think I found my favourite comment of the night so far. You got to tune into SEN more, Rat Poison. You got to tune into SEN more. This is me in SEN mode at the moment. Host, presenter.
That's right. I'm
facilitating the conversation. This is an interesting point. I'll put this up. This is a good call from Darren Thomas. We were too high up the ground. Cowan and Kemp were out of sorts, pressure moments. Now, I think our high press, if you don't play a high press, you'll never win a premiership. You'll never put yourself in a mode with which you can be a competitor up the top. Let's look at Fremantle and let's look at St Kilda. Dour types, boring football, rubbish football. It's never going to be conducive of top quality line premiership material. And I find the way we play, if you beat those first two lines of our defensive wave, it's easy to get out the back because we play such a high press. But if you don't play that high press, you're never going to get repeat entries and you're never going to win consistently. It's all about being in sync. That's how I see it.
And look, there was a comment there about Kemp and Cowans, but how many games have those guys played? I mean, they're not senior footballers have been around for a long time and quality defenders or anything. They're learning the game still, and they're going to get better. So I think it's easy to sit back and be a bit critical, but I think we really need to look at. There was some deficiencies in the back half, and that come with lack of experience really, and Geelong had some quality forwards who were able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, spot
Paul,
on.
did you think? I know, Paul.
I'll just go on with that because that Geelong forward line's been playing together for a long time too, and how many times has Cowan played with Kemp and
you can't underestimate that.
No, you really do as a back line. You get your back six, and you've got to be a solid back six there for quite a long time. To not so much a long time, but you need to know what each other's thinking because it's bloody hard otherwise, and it's hard to just keep putting, especially with inexperienced players, and they get a bit nervy too. So you can throw experienced players back and get away with it, but inexperienced, you get a bit nervy, and they'll give away some silly frees and do some silly things back there from time to time, and it's just panicking. Really, it's just they panic because they don't want to make a mistake, and they're not making it because they panic.
Yep. No, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
they can't all settle into a back line like you did back in the day with Bruce Doyle and Bel Perovic and Peter Dean and Stephen Silvani and
Well, you look at '87, we had a reasonably young back line then, and inexperienced I was the most experienced in '87 in that. We had Tommy Alvin, Mick Kennedy, Ian Aitken, first year player.
Yes.
So
Stephen Silvani, only a very young Stephen Silvani.
Yeah. Peter Dean had he'd been around for a little bit, but they were all good defenders who did their job, and we worked well together. We knew how to. I got slotted back there, but I'd had a fair bit of experience playing football and confidence in my own self to be able to do that sort of thing as well. So,
and then you had guys like Shane Robertson.
I had to rely on those blokes too. I had to rely on blokes like Deanie to be able to come over and cover it when I felt like doing my own thing, and which was quite often. So
this is an interesting one from Lou.
Oh, okay.
David King on first crack reckons Williams should be dropped, not defending well. I think that's a ridiculous call.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
And the more Zach Williams plays, the better he's going to get too.
If this is true, Lou, what a short-sighted, rubbish 1 week reactionary call. I mean, honestly,
he's after a headline, is he?
Well, no. Yeah. See, this is what shits me, and for lack of a better phrase, right? I don't want to, but paid media. I mean, what are we doing here? Seriously, I mean, I look at all these statisticians, right, and I look at all these numbers, and the best one I've seen in the last couple of weeks was Mark Pitternet is the reason Carlton lose the turnover game. I've never heard a more ridiculous statement in my life. They've basically aligned Mark Pitternet being in the team, that there is a correlation with him being in the team as to why we're losing our turnover game, providing no context and no depth to the argument whatsoever. And now David King has come out after 1 or 2 weeks of Zach Williams coming off an ACL, and now we're saying he needs to be dropped. For who? For who? Has he provided a solution, Lou? That's what I'd like to know. It's okay to say drop him. What's his solution? Yeah. Who are you going to bring in?
Well, we become less experienced. And the other thing with Zach Williams is he's starting to take on the play a little bit, which I've been waiting for because which shows he's getting a bit of experience in his own body and in his own self and getting a bit more confidence in himself. So it's good to see him taking it on and he ran around the big ruckman, I think it was at one stage, and Rhys Stanley, and I thought, at least he's starting to have a go because he's a quality player. He's usual delivery of the football, I'll say, is normally pretty good, and if he's streaming through the midfield or Sard or one of those guys, they're going to be hitting up our forwards and lace out for them. So Zach Williams, he's missed a lot of footy, and give him a chance, and come September, David King might be, eating his words.
I hope so. Did David King mention Zach Williams' almost match-winning play against Fremantle when he burst through stoppage and laced it out to Charlie Curnow late in the game? I don't think he mentioned that, did he? One of the plays of the season, I'd have thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
no, I don't think.
Put it this way: they're paid to say things, and they just got to think of things, and they look at isolated incidents and just.
That's fine though. That's fine. Provide bigger context though, because it's just, to me, it's just reactionary. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, the good thing is the players don't watch or any of those footy shows or read papers anymore. We used to. We were footy sponges. We used to read the whole lot, and if critical things come your way, you had to cop it, sort of thing. And I know that very well because a lot of negative things written about me, but you just cop it on the chin and get on with it. And,
not here, mate. Not here. Not on Blue Sundays.
It was all good.
Joseph, hello, Joseph. Giuseppe, how are you, mate?
There's Joey. He's joined us. He's been replaced by a younger, better, that should be better looking version of him.
Either or.
No, good to see you, Joey. We'll look forward to seeing you back next week. But Paul's doing an excellent job. So good, in fact, that he you never know. You might get it permanently from next week onwards, Paul.
I'll send the invoice, mate.
The check's in the mail.
This is all right. So David King did say we are playing against Hoops and the Green Team. Okay. All right, we'll let him off then. We'll let him off.
Can I just make a comment? Can I just make a comment about the Zach Williams thing? Look, I don't think he had his best game yesterday. I thought he had a couple of howlers during the game, but
he did. Yep, he did.
But he strikes me a bit like Rhys said, is one of the few players, a bit like Saad, that will take on the game a bit and try and break the lines and take a bounce. There's not too many players that bounce the ball much anymore, and he's one of them that can give you a bit of drive off the half back line. So it's a bit of a stretch by David King to be asking for him to be dropped on that performance alone. But
I think so.
Just getting back
to
like
the gentleman below us, Vin. Bit like the gentleman below us, Vin. You take the good with the bad.
That's it. But just going back to your high press comment as well before, and I know you're a soccer man. You love your English Premier League and all that sort of thing. So did you get the feeling at some times during the game yesterday that Carlton were like the team that had the most possession of the ball, but Geelong were the better counter-punching team, if you know what I mean? They didn't quite have as much possession, but their counter-attacking was a lot better. And the minute they broke through that high press, it was all players streaming forward and making the most of their forward 50 entries, because that's what it looked like to me. One of those soccer games where the team that had the ball less made most of their opportunities.
Yes, efficiency. And the thing is as well is that when you have a team like Geelong who are so ruthlessly efficient, you don't want to give them open space. The moment they expose you into open space, you're done.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to show what a great game that Jacob Wiedering had too on Hawkins, because when they were coming out and streaming down, he was beating Hawkins in those one-on-ones, and to the effect that I think they stopped looking for Hawkins at times because and looking where Wiedering wasn't getting the ball out the other side or whatever they had to do, because they weren't able to score through Hawkins. So, and that's when they were dead set. They were streaming through the ground. So, they had numbers everywhere. And, Wieders did a great job.
Yeah, he did. Vince,
well, now that we're talking about our best...
Shall we keep on with the game? Because I've got the votes. Here
I was just going to say, now that we're talking about best players already, why don't we get on with the votes for the week? Unless there's anything else you want to mention, Rhys, before we go into the votes.
There we go.
No, I'll go into the votes. And Big H. McKay, I thought was terrific all day. And he if we we're going to win the game, it would have been on his back, really. He started well, he tackled well, he chased, he did things that his kicking was a little bit suspect again. I think we all started going, no, I don't get the bloody yips again. But for 2 votes, Cripper just was himself again, and just in everything, and tried his heart out. And Jacob Wiedering, as I just mentioned before, for all the reasons I mentioned before, held that back line together and was terrific.
Vince?
Yes, well, I think he had one pretty poor kick that might have gone along the ground, but apart from that, I thought Jacob Wiedering's game was. I mean, we can forgive everyone one mistake a game, but other than that, I thought he played superbly on Tom Hawkins, and I think there was one mark I can recall Hawkins getting near the boundary line, and he kicked it, and it went through for a point, and that was about the only time I noticed him for the whole game, other than a couple of times when he was thrown into the ruck. So you can hardly blame Wiedering for that. So I thought it was a superb game from the fullback. There's not much more you can expect from him than that. And I gave him the 3 votes. Patrick Cripps could easily have given him the 3 votes too. He was superb yet again. He's in Brownlow medal-winning form again. And I reckon by this stage of the Brownlow medal, he'll be pretty close to right up there. And he's just leading from the front in every way you could ask for.
Yeah.
And I gave Akers my 1 vote. I thought he was really good on his wing all day and instrumental in getting us back to within possible striking distance again. And, geez, those 2 goals at the end really did inspire the team and brought back memories of that Melbourne final last year, didn't it, Paul?
It did. But, it did a little bit.
It almost had that little bit of where he kicked the goals from, especially that one that he took out of the pack. It sort of brought back memories of Chris Judd. Remember that goal he kicked against Richmond in the final? So that sort of reminded me of a little bit. But, geez, he really got the crowd up and about, didn't he? So
he did.
He was fantastic on his wing. I'm a little bit worried about the other wing, to be frank. I think the other players we've got down there are not consistent enough, whether it's Ollie Hollands or whether it's Cottrell or whoever else we're playing on that other wing. I think that's a bit of a weakness for us at the moment. But yeah, and to mention, I didn't put Harry in because as much as he was a very good player, and I could have thrown him in there for a vote or 2, but I just felt that when we needed him to strike most, he didn't quite hit the spot when we needed it, and that's why I've left him out.
Fair enough. What's Bangkok Joe's gone with 3 to Harry, 2 to Cripps, and 1 to Sam Walsh. For what it's worth, I've gone 3 Cripps, 2 to Matt Kennedy, who I thought was really good. He really stood out to me from my vantage point at the G. I've really liked what he's put together, and he's had to play some different roles in game as well, where they've had to shunt him down a half back because of injury, and I think he was really good. And I've given 1 to Harry Mackay as well, and honourable mentions to Elijah Hollands, who I thought played that half-forward role quite well, and a mention to Blake Acres too. So, Ollie Hollands and Cottrell, it's an interesting one. That particular wing role, it can be a lot of output running-wise for very little input. It can be a very unrewarding role, ball in hand. So Ollie got himself into some really dangerous positions, but his execution, I think, was a bit off on the day. But, I mean, look, he's only played.
He's still young.
And I thought it was smart positioning by Geelong to put Tui out on him too. I thought that was smart thinking, and Tui's
34-year-old and a 19-year-old.
Tui's not a wingman, and he's not. He can do most of that running, but not all of it. But he can be dangerous, and he was. So that was a good move by Geelong. I thought.
Here is our leaderboard. Here is our leaderboard, mate. I'm getting ahead with the graphics, Vince. If
I was Joe, I'd be very nervous right
now. So Patrick Cripps, 31, Mackay, 27, Walsh, 17, Wiedering, 13, De Koning, 18. There we go. There's your top 5. Sorry, 8. Eight.
Yeah.
He is in 5th position. What's the prize for the winner?
A day with Paul Sebastiani in the studios of SEN.
By all means.
No worries. No, look, it's a very tight leaderboard, but you can see there the players that have been most consistent already in the 7 games that we've played so far this year. So Cripps, Mackay, Walsh already after only 3 weeks. He can have the job.
More than happy. On your Wayne.
All right. Retirement village for Joe.
Thank you.
He's already there, Wayne. It's called Thailand.
Exactly right.
So there you go. So that's the vote. So what about
Spirit of Carlton Award?
Yes.
Spirit of Carlton Award for Rhys. Yes.
Yes.
I won't show the graphic yet. I'll let you build it up, David, and you can lead us towards
Joe
it.
normally puts on a drum roll at this stage.
Normally, I'm ready to talk about it, and it just goes bang up in front of me. And anyway, look, this guy's a guy who really wants to win us games. He's been so important over the last couple of years, and I'm talking, of course, of Blake Acres, who just bobbed in with those couple of goals in the last quarter. And whether he's saving goals or kicking goals, and to provide that sort of quality at the end of a game too, when your body's tired, and he does an awful amount of running, and to be able to push himself, I just think is fantastic. And he gave us a lot of hope, with only 4 or 5 minutes to go, and for that, not for that alone. I thought he had a great game anyway, but I like the way he puts himself in positions to help us win, and so he wants to win games of footy, and I think a lot of them are following alongside.
Yeah,
like that.
No, I love the way he plays. Love the way he plays on that wing. Does a lot of gut running. He's down there helping the defenders 1 minute, and then he's up forward kicking goals the next. So, he's brought a lot to our wings. Especially we identified a couple of years ago that we had clear deficiencies on the wing.
Yeah.
I think at the time we might have had Jack Dunes on one wing, and can't remember who was on the other one. It might have been Lockie O'Brien, but we just weren't. We just knew that we didn't have the players that we really needed. And since getting Acres there, and now Ollie Hollands is starting to grow into the role on the other side, hopefully they're the ones.
Yep. Good evening to you, Carls. Hope you're doing well.
Hello, Carls. Hello. Nice to see you.
You're doing well. Great to see you in the chat.
Always
too.
Good to see you.
Blake Acres, is he, I would have to say, and Carlton hat off, I would have to say he is arguably one of the best recruits we've seen in the modern era of AFL based on cost and benefit he provides his team. He was a future third-round pick, and he has effectively won us 2 finals, and he's been sensational on the wing for us.
I think I think what's happened in the past is we've gone out and because we haven't had the players in there, and just got midfielder after midfielder after midfielder, and then thrown the lesser midfielder out onto a wing. When we got to a stage where we thought, well, hang on a minute, our list is pretty good now. We can go and get a wingman. And as soon as they went and got Blake Acres, I'm thinking, hang on, we're in the premiership window here, because they're starting to target specific areas that we're lacking, and that can be a wingman. And Melbourne benefited, by recruiting good wingmen and able to get a flag, and that's when I sort of thought, geez, we're right in this now, because we're starting to specifically target the type of player. We never got a wingman before because we were so deficient in other areas. You just went for up the middle or whoever you could get, basically. But the best of a bad lot they'd go for. But now we're targeting what we need and putting that into what we can, and that'll sustain us for a long time too.
Great call. I don't know if any of you caught it was vision from years ago when we were coached by Brendan Bolton, but Brendan Bolton predicting what the spine of the Carlton Football Club was going to be for the next decade, and he got it absolutely spot on. And that's you have to create, and that's where you have to put your resources into. That spine and key position area is what's going to set you apart from the rest, and then you filter it out. It's almost like an atom. You've got the nucleus of players with which you need to base your atom around, and then you spread it out with the rest, the protons and the neutrons. I know I'm getting a bit scientific here, but you can see the way in which they have developed the list over time.
We used to call it the spine, and that anatomically you can sort of look at that, and that's your spine, and that's what you work off. So
Well, good to see Rhys is going biological when you're going chemical.
Hey, we do it all here, mate.
I'd better go physical. Yeah, look, I think that the sort of players you were
talking about genders either.
No.
No. I think the sort of players you were talking about before with Melbourne, for example, was the recruitment of Ed Langdon from Fremantle. So it looks like Fremantle's a good place to go to for good wingmen. We've got Akers from them, and Melbourne got Langdon, and both teams look pretty good at the moment. Lockie Hunter, of course, was recruited to go into a wing, and I think this year Melbourne even got Billings from St Kilda. So they are out there. If you go out and recruit them and show an interest, you can attract them across.
Well, the thing is, you're looking for players who are going to fill gaps, and that's if I was sort of looking around at the moment, I think the gap we have got is the small forward gap and goal kicking small forward gap. It'd be great to have a small forward who could be kicking 30 odd goals in a season, and an Eddie Betts type. It'd be fantastic down there at the moment. But
actually, when you look at yesterday's game, Rhys, you've got Durden, who I don't know, he missed a shot from 25, 30 metres out directly in front.
He can't afford to miss those shots.
You've got to kick him. Yeah. That's your job.
Exactly.
He can't afford to miss those. He doesn't get enough kicks, do enough in a game of football to miss those shots. And that's got to be his bread and butter. So
correct.
And it's why Matt Owies is such a great kick for goal, because he has to be.
But he was quiet yesterday. He only had 3 possessions before they subbed him out. And Razio Fantasia was the last minute withdrawal from illness, and young Jackson Binns got his first crack of the big time, and I think he only touched it maybe a couple of times, but he finally put on the Guernsey for the first time. So who knows what will happen with him. But, that small forward area, that still seems to be an area where we're looking for someone to really step up. Hopefully when Motlop and Martin come back, they can start filling those roles in the way we need them to be filled.
Yeah,
and you've got to either be one or the other. You've got to be a Fogarty, and you got to hold the ball in there and do that hard stuff, or you got to do a combination of both, or be a goal kicker, because if you're not doing anything in there, you're a waste of space.
Yeah. I'll just to add to that before we reset and move on to this to the back end of next week. I'll raise two points on that. So I think that there is a spot with our forward line at the moment, and I think just our team in general, where you can't ignore the blatant obvious, right? The output that we are that will be provided by the blokes set to come back in is going to increase our output probably 20 to 25%. And I speak offensively, defensively, and through midfield as well. So I know the coaches say, we can't just rely on those blokes. We're in a dangerous spot if we're just relying on those blokes to come back in and then start winning games against these types of teams, right? But you also can't ignore the obvious, and that is clear, right? But conversely, I think it is true to a point where we can't get into the mode of, just because Chera, McGovern, and Sard and Martin and Motlop are all on the sidelines waiting to come back in, that when they do come back in, it's just automatically going to click.
No,
right?
It's not.
Striking the balance between the two is critical in really starting to hit some winning consistency. Having said that, considering how far down we've gone in our depth, right, the output and performance has not, aside from probably the Adelaide game, which, mind you, we kicked ourselves out of it. We were 3 scores up with 6 minutes to go. We should have won the game. Yep. The output and performance hasn't dropped off. Defensively, obviously, there are still a few issues, but you can work on those. So I've been mightily impressed by what we've dished up the first 7 rounds. Mightily impressed.
Well, the difference is we've got 5 genuine A-graders out there at the moment. We have A-plus players out there, and they're the guys that win you the games of footy. It's not the foot soldiers. So as long as they can do their job and our stars can keep producing week in, week out, then that's how you win games. That's how you win finals. But the good thing is with these blokes being out and the opportunities coming for for the the players who are taking their spots. It gives them an opportunity. I mean, once you're in the team, they should be thinking to themselves, "Gee, I want to stay in this team. I want this team could be special, and I want to be there when it happens." So while you sort of think that it mightn't be that bad, with these players, I think they should be really, really thinking about themselves and thinking about establishing themselves in that team, because
exactly,
you never know what it could be at the end.
Exactly. Injury creates opportunity, and a lot of them have taken their opportunity. Mate, big shout out to everybody watching. There's 83 live at the moment, and to everyone in the chat. Like, subscribe, share the video around. All right. To quote my favourite ever caller, Rex Hunt, my goodness gracious me, what a game this is going to be. Here we go. Carlton Collingwood, MCG, Friday night, 3rd of May, 7:40 p.m. Sell out. They'll probably get over, they will get over 90,000. David, you know all about these types of games, mate. You've been there, done it. You've been in the heat of the moment. You've won flags over this mob. You have been at I would say you got them more times than they got us. Talk to us about this game, and talk to us about, I know we're going to focus on it individually from a round 8 perspective, but I mean, what does this game mean to you, and what has it meant to you in your time at the club and now as well?
Well, look, I mean, I actually didn't play any flags against them, but
sorry, Hawthorn, that's right. Yeah, you're part of it, mate.
But Carlton Collingwood games, and it wouldn't matter where you were on the ladder. I mean, they would just build up to be the game you had to win. I mean, put it this way: if you had a very poor team and you only won 2 games for the year, you'd want to win Collingwood, beating Collingwood at home and Collingwood away, and that's about it, sort of thing. And that'd be a reasonable year for your fans anyway. And it's funny, I got to talk to the players with Brendan Bolton was coaching, and I got to talk to him during the week about playing against Collingwood, and this is a few years back now, and I actually, I got bloody nervous going in there, and I'm thinking, what am I going to say? And and in the end, I just got in there and I said, look, you guys all know how to play, and you try and win every game, and you're always trying. But I say, when you get out there, have a look around and have a look at the blue, sea of blue people out there, and this is a game for them. This is the one that they want to win. So when you're playing, you're not just playing for yourselves, you're playing for this and the supporters, because this is the one that Collingwood supporters want to win and Carlton supporters want. And so it's as much rivalry off the field as it is on it. But it's a great game too, for the spectacle and the build up and everything of it.
Yep.
The big crowds, no matter where the teams are on the ladder. And it holds you in good stead for finals. And Carlton's really lucky in that way, that they can play in games in home and away seasons that are finals like, as in crowds and atmosphere and everything. And so it doesn't, you get to September and some of these other teams, they don't get to experience that. So, it's overwhelming. It could be overwhelming. And so Carlton's lucky that they get to play, 90,000 against Collingwood, 80,000 against Essendon, and whoever we're coming up against.
I wanted to show this photo. I wanted to show this photo, actually, Joe's photo with it, because it pertains to the Magpies. I mean, fair dinkum. I mean, I know they probably don't own dictionaries, but a simple Google search could have sufficed here as to
the mighty Magpies. How do they spell the word mighty?
The Mig Thigh Magpies. Thank you very much.
I'm trying to find teeth too. I'm just having a bit
There you go. Peter V's in there. He's in there.
The mighty Fires, yeah.
Hey,
Rhys, did you ever have the big Jack turn up in the rooms before a Carlton Collingwood game and tell you blokes how important it was to win, or did he keep away from the team before the game?
No, you always had, you had people walking around, and you knew how important it was. And, didn't affect
he
the
didn't
result.
come out and say, "Now listen, you blokes, you better beat those bloody Magpies today."
But it is. It's and put it this way, Jack was president of the club, but he was probably the biggest fan of the club as well, if you know what I mean. So, he wanted to beat Collingwood as much as anyone did. So, that was, and we knew that, but we, of course, didn't listen to him too much.
Yeah. I want to raise a point here, and I want to be a bit philosophical about this as well, right? And this is where I think our club has started to develop into a better football club. And when I say football club, I don't just mean players and coaches. I mean us as fans, you, David, as past player and as a fan as well, and all the people in the chat too. I think there was a point with which we were so bad as a football club on the field and off the field that these games meant everything to us, right? And they do during the week, right? They do during the week. But I think as a football club now, we have to continue to develop mentally and the way we speak as well to a point with which we care about this week against Collingwood. You want to beat them. But the best way to beat them as a whole is to focus on us as a football club, humble ourselves and get ourselves right for the year and worry about the Carlton Football Club, win number 17 before they do, but not to get at them and say, ha, 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 ha. It's more now they're looking at us rather than us worrying about them. And I think that's when you remove yourself from that inferiority complex, which I think we have maybe subconsciously been part of for quite a while. The history will always be there. Our history will always be better than theirs, right? But that's not going to be a guarantee if we don't focus on the Carlton Football Club itself. So I guess to put an end to that, it's get out of that inferiority complex, humble yourselves, realize that we haven't been as good as them in the last 20 years. Focus on yourself. Prepare for them during the week. That's going to be our focus from now until the end of Friday night. And then whatever happens on Friday night, you move on and you try to better the Carlton Football Club. And that's what will hurt them the most. That's what will dig into their hearts and souls the most. Not drilling them during the week and saying, oh, because we beat you, our season's great now. It's all brilliant. We don't have to win another game. That, to me, that's bullshit. That's rubbish. That's little man inferior syndrome, right? That is.
That's when you're not winning too many games. That's what you're
exactly right. Exactly right. So what I'm saying is get at them by being a good football club, not worrying about them.
Yeah, look, it's Collingwood's in they've hit good form now and starting to win games well, but I still think they're a little bit suspect at the moment, and I think. I think they're there for the taking. So
I agree.
It'd be great to have McGovern and Chera back, but I think we can still beat them anyway. And I think the way we're playing compared to the way they're playing, I think we're in better form than they are. And I think listening to Vossi last year talk about Collingwood and how to beat them. I was at a breakfast and he was talking and he's got them pretty well down pat. He knows how they basically his philosophy is going to be they're going to go at you. They're going to go hard. When they're going hard, you have to defend bloody hard because. But when they have a breather, that's when you got to go them. That's when you really have to attack and go them. And that's his philosophy about the way they play because they play that slingshot maniac sort of brand of football, and they can get caught on the rebound very quickly. So
can I respond to this?
Yep.
Can I respond to Rocco? They will have and suffer misery, right? If we just focus on them this week and then move on from them and become a better football club and don't even worry about them and go to premiership number 17, that's when they'll have the most misery. When you just worry about them for the week and then you just ignore them for the rest of the season and worry about them when you have to worry about them. That's what I'm saying there. Get at them the other way.
I was watching Anzac Day footy, and I had to put something up at halftime on Facebook, just saying I can't believe I'm barracking for Essendon. It just shows how much I hate Collingwood.
Hey, the result was absolutely
perfect. Perfect result.
Yeah, neither of them won. Yeah.
We couldn't have asked for a better
let's get on with our predictions for the Carlton Collingwood game. Who do we think is going to win, and by how much? Do you want to start off, Rhys?
Yeah, I'll go first, and I think 21 points. 21 points, Carlton to win.
Like it, Vince. Yours, you go for it.
Yes. Well, I've always said that the time to get Collingwood or Essendon. No. The time to get Collingwood or Essendon is the week after Anzac Day. They quite often lose, both of them, in the week after that game. And I reckon that game would have taken a hell of a lot out of them, that draw. And the perfect response is to get them the following week. So I'm going to select Carlton this week, and I think we'll learn a few things from that loss against Geelong. So I'm going to tip Carlton this week to beat Collingwood by 21 points. There you go. What did you say, Rhys?
I said 21.
Oh, what's going on here? We're aligning.
All right, I'll have to go for a different margin. I'll tell you what, I'll go for David Rhys Jones's number, 26 points. There you go.
Oh, there we go. I like that. There we go. We like that. I'm going to go Carlton by 17 points.
Okay.
Bit of a subliminal message there.
And no doubt Joe, who's not with us tonight, he can't stand Collingwood. He's a bit like Rocco. He's just like, they're the filth. I can't stand them.
Carlton 30,
so
there he is.
No doubt he'll be going, there you go. There's Joe. Carlton by
Lana
30.
saying Blues by 19. Enzo, what's Wayne gone? He's gone us by 30. Carlton to win. Peter Vlahos, Blues by 20.
Yes, let's get all the predictions out there.
There we go. Carlton by 18.
Charlie to kick 3. Okay.
Gianna Harris has said Blues by 15. Jimmy Raptus, Harry kicks 5. And Rocco's just come into the chat here and said
Carlton by 25.
Seba, my cousin, Carlton by 46. Geez, that'd be nice.
Is that Michael? Is that Mick?
That is little Michael, yes.
Good to see him, Michael. Yeah.
And Carl's
it's actually going to be my first game for the year. I haven't been
fantastic.
Had my knees replaced earlier this year in January, and so I haven't ventured to the footy yet. So I can't miss this one though. So I'll be.
Let's hope it's a winner
in the President's dinner. But
very nice. There we go.
Right, roughing it up again. I see, Rhys.
And not drinking, still not drinking too. So yeah,
we'll see. Well,
there you go.
If we win, I reckon you might sneak in a beer or two.
You never know.
Blues by 1 just to rub it in. I like it. Yeah.
Vincenzo squad.
Can I ask
10.
one thing, Rhys? If there's one thing that we have to be mindful of or wary of with Collingwood, what would that be? What does Michael Voss have to really safeguard the team against when we play Collingwood? What do you think?
It's just that rebound, that rebound football they play, and it's ballistic football. They get the ball and they all go, and you just have to be prepared for that. They go 100 miles an hour, and that's what I'm saying. They can be caught on the rebound at times, yes. But they really do. It's been, and I hate to say this, it's been good for football that Collingwood come out and played that way and started, and won a premiership because football was becoming negative and boring and scores, there wasn't, two teams never scored 100 points each against each other, like, where with Geelong on the weekend. So it was, it was getting very, very negative football and they've taken it on and it has been great. But I look through their player list and I look at our players and I think, geez, I reckon our A graders are better than theirs. They're
good call.
They've got a couple of blokes who is best footballers well past them too in side bottom and I'm thinking their ex-skipper too.
Pendlebury.
Pendlebury. So we could do a Collingwood to Collingwood and get them. But I reckon Vossi will have a good plan for him. I think he knows their strengths and our strengths, and I think we can plan well for it. And I think our better players are better than their better players.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point you raised too there, David. I think from our perspective as well, Collingwood play a high press too, and they always rely on Darcy Moore to play that intercept. So they will be vulnerable if we meet them with our press to try and get the ball back off them too. So it's going to be a fire with fire type battle, which I really like. But forget about the Carlton Collingwood thing for a minute. When I look at this game logically and look at the two teams heading into this year, I'm not, as much as the base with which you have to set yourself up with to attack this year is, Collingwood have got, the 2 years under McRae. We've had X amount of years under Michael Voss. I think at the moment, just looking at the two teams, and I know it's a small sample size, I think we've progressed ahead of them, just based on what I've seen so far this year. And I'm not looking back now. The premiership's done. They've won it. We're in 2024 now. And just looking at what both teams have done this season, I think we've played the far better football. And we get a home game this weekend. So I think if we dish up what we did against Geelong and just fix up a few things defensively, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll get them comfortably. I don't think it'll be a game where we're worrying too much. I'd be worried if it was, because they're not really humming the Pies, and I thought they were. No. I thought they were rubbish against Essendon, to be honest. I don't really rate Essendon at all, to be honest. I know they've improved a bit.
To let Essendon come back into that game, really they're not playing it. And what, they lose their first three, wasn't it? And they're just going. They're just going. They haven't really beaten anyone yet. So this is going to be a great test for them. This is going to show where they're at, and I hopefully. Geez, you're back on level pegging with me, Vince.
I'm the only one who went for Geelong, Paul.
Oh, really? Oh, actually, I was going to say I was wondering what banter would ensue when I bring the tipping leaderboard up, because this is where the
if Carlton had a one, I would have been on 3. Rhys would have been on 5, and Joe would have been on 6. So I would have been badly bringing up the rear, like one of Rhys's old horses. No, I'm only kidding. He's actually got a really good trotter coming up.
Is that right?
The priestess, wasn't it, Rhys?
Yeah, the priestess. She loves to gallop, and that's not good when you're trotting. So
she was in a pretty big race at Melton last week, but flashed home to run 5th or 6th, I think, after missing the start by about 100 metres. So huge run. Anyway,
so we might be sending her up to Sydney. I think the Oaks up there, and
nice. New South Wales.
If she gets in there, we find out tomorrow, and if she gets in, we'll send her up there and see what happens.
Good luck.
On the subject of betting, if you want to know the odds for the Carlton Collingwood game, Carlton are $1.86 favourite, and Collingwood's $1.98. But the line, the $1.90 line either side is at 1.5 points. So the market's predicting basically a 1 to 2 point result here between the two sides.
Blues at the line. There's your bet.
Blues at the line.
Blues at the line. They did me well against the Giants, and they'll do me well next week, I reckon. So Blues at the line. Now, obviously, we've been speaking about the Blues and we've been speaking about football, but I do think we can all attest to the fact that sports pales in comparison to the calls that we are going to be putting a lot of attention to this week. And, of course, we always do it. So to all 86 viewers, to all people in the chat, to all those who tune into the Jumper Punch and any of the other Carlton channels, David, you've got a special cause that we are going to pay particular attention to this week. It's Prader-Willi Syndrome Association. So talk to us about this. And obviously it's a subject that has basically touched your family, and it's something that you have to deal with, not just on a daily, but an hourly basis.
Yeah, look at it. Well, it's every day. Cooper lives, that's me and Cooper there, and Cooper lives with Prader-Willi syndrome, which is a very rare condition. I think 1 in 15,000 to 20,000 births, no rhyme or reason, and it's just a genetic condition which affects the 15th chromosome. And so we have our fundraising in May, and so I'll hopefully be able to get the stuff ready by Tuesday night for the Jumper Punch, and I'll have all the details there, and we'll be ready to go. But Prader-Willi syndrome's not known, but it basically the 15 chromosomes affected, it's either a deletion or partial deletion, and that affects a part of the brain, which is the hypothalamus, which is basically your regulator, regulates your thirst, your hunger, your body temperature, everything sort of thing. So, so it's a strange one. It's not well known, but and there's the people on the association there are fantastic. They're just mums and dads of kids with Prader-Willi syndrome. They get no government assistance. Well, we get no government assistance through it. So it's just all hands on deck and trying to raise as much money, as much as the money is awareness about the condition as well. So Cooper can have meltdowns at various times and in some of the most awkward situations. But anyway, that's part and parcel of it. And so he lives.
It's not as widely known, is it, Rhys, compared to some of the, I guess, more high-profile ones in recent years, such as the one that Neil Danaher's got, the motor neurone disease, and others similar to it in recent times. But this is not a syndrome that is very widely known in public, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not well known, and so it's one of those things because it's not well known. It doesn't get much attention, and fortunately or unfortunately for us, or it's fortunately that we can, I've got a little bit of a profile and I can make some awareness of it and help raise some funds for the association, which all goes to a very good cause and some research in different areas and some help for families of the people with, kids who have Prader-Willi syndrome as well. So it's, it's a tough one, but, and tough living with, that condition, but, I tip my hat to all the parents and the kids with it, and the families who go through it.
Yep. So Tuesday night, the Jumper Punch, we're going to be doing a big, well, we could call it a telethon, a donation-a-thon.
Telethon.
A massive night. So we will have, and we'll set it up, we'll have a link in the live chat. We'll also have a link in the description on YouTube, and we're going to promote it via our Instagram stories, and I'll promote it via my personal Twitter as well. We'll put a video up there. So let's all get behind David Rhys Jones and his young son Cooper with Prader-Willi syndrome, and we are going to do our absolute best to raise as much as possible, raise awareness, raise funds, and we're going to make it a great night. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make it a fun.
It'll be a great Carlton night. Yep. That's it. Great Carlton night, and hopefully raise a few bob for the association. Would be terrific.
Can I also give a bit of a shout out to your lovely wife Cherie too, David, because she does a power of work in helping Cooper as well, I'm sure. So big shout out to Cherie. I've known both of you for many years now, and she's an absolute gem. So good on you, Cherie. Keep fighting out there, and great to see you taking a lead role too, David, in raising money for this very worthwhile cause.
Indeed. Now it puts things into perspective. This kind of stuff as well, and we've had a bit of family news too on our end earlier this week as well. That has not been great with our lovely grandmother. She's unfortunately been diagnosed with breast cancer, but stage 1, and they got it in the early stages. So she's a tough cookie. She's up and about. She's cooking for everyone tonight. So
unbelievable.
She's doing well.
Good luck to her with all of that. Yeah.
It's all about perspective, mate. We can talk about the football and we can talk about Carlton and sport as much as we like, but at the end of the day,
we can get to talking about football and get beyond what it really is. It's just a game at the end of the day, and may the best team win, but there's real life battles out there as well.
Exactly right. Speaking of may the best team win, we got some results from the weekend.
You and I will do this after we give Rhys the big goodbye, because he's got to head off.
Right, is that right?
He normally heads off about half an hour ago.
He's off.
We've kept him on for about half an hour longer today.
Yeah.
But
is that why
Rhys, thanks again.
That's why I got to give Cherie a cheerio, because
that's right.
Kept
mate, thanks again. You've been tremendous.
No, you're all right, guys. All right, I'm looking forward to Tuesday night, so everyone out there tune in, and we'll have a bit of fun, and it'll be a great Carlton night.
We love it. Terrific. Thank you very much, David. We'll see you on Tuesday night on the couch, mate. Make sure you got an empty stomach as well.
Food there, is there?
Oh, mate. Oh.
Is there food?
Mate, that's it.
Mate, Get ready for it.
You'll be looked after. All right, David.
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
see you on
See you
Tuesday.
then.
Thanks again. There we go. David Rhys-Jones, Prader-Willi Syndrome Foundation. Make sure the Prader-Willi Syndrome Association. You can hit their website now as well, I think, but we'll have the link up on the Jumper Punch page as well. So good on David and his son Cooper and his family. We wish them all the best, and we're going to have a bloody fun one on Tuesday night. I'll give you the tip. All right, Vince, let's get into this, shall we?
All right. We should be starting with the first game, which is Richmond versus Melbourne. I don't know if you've got it there.
Hold on a moment. This is not in order, but no, that's all we've got there.
Is that
we'll start with Richmond Melbourne. We'll start with Richmond Melbourne.
Oh, you've obviously haven't got the screen thing happening. Anyway, we saw Richmond and Melbourne start off the round on Wednesday night after they had a bye the previous week. And so they should have too if they got to play on a Wednesday. And we saw Melbourne comprehensively defeat Richmond 13-7, 85. To the Tigers, it looks like they're really going to struggle this year. 5 goals, 12, 42. A comprehensive 43-point win to the Demons and sees them very well entrenched in the 8.
Yep, it does indeed. It was a boring first half, but the Demons eventually got their act together and Rhys rolled. They rolled the Tigers pretty comfortably. Port Adelaide won a pretty cagey one against St Kilda. Jack Higgins, the story out of it.
I'm going in chronological order here compared to. So I think Essendon Collingwood might have been next. Sorry, Paul.
I don't think it really matters, mate. Who cares?
It probably doesn't matter. But anyway, they both ended up 12 goals, 13, 85 apiece after a seesawing game. And I think most other teams would, or followers of other teams would say that's the perfect result.
Yeah,
both teams had 2 points each. But one thing that I will say about that is that Essendon, who has a pretty poor percentage, that draw now basically nullifies the poor percentage. So that's probably more of a win for Essendon than it was for Collingwood in drawing the game.
Indeed.
Then after that, we had GWS playing Brisbane Lions, which was GWS comprehensively beating Brisbane over there in Canberra. 17-11.
These graphics are all over the shop, mate. Rocco,
aren't they?
Mate, what is going on here, Rocco?
I don't know. But 17-11, 113 to Brisbane 8-11-59. And you've got to say, Paul, it's now looking not only is top 4 out of reach for Brisbane, but maybe even top 8 might be beyond them.
Yeah, they look absolutely cooked. The off-field stuff looks like it's caught up with them on the field, and they are. I wouldn't even say they're treading at the moment. They are sinking.
They're drowning. They're drowning. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Then we saw, of course, on Friday night, Port Adelaide defeats St Kilda over there in Adelaide.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide 11-16-82 to St Kilda 11-6-72. So they beat them by 10 behinds. In fact, should have won by a lot more, but inaccurate kicking saw the Saints stay in the game. But I think the right team won this. And against St Kilda, another narrow loss, but they keep losing them. So they've only got the 2 wins out of 7 games for the season so far. Port Adelaide, well entrenched in the 8.
They are indeed. The big story out of the game was Jack Higgins' suspension for 3 matches, the dangerous tackle on Aliir. It was a dangerous tackle. It was a very dangerous tackle, and the AFL's cracking down on that. Rightio, what else have we got? Adelaide, North Melbourne.
Then we've got North
Adelaide.
Melbourne and Adelaide over there in Tasmania. Adelaide, again, probably feeling a sigh of relief that they played a side that's nowhere near as capable of some of their recent opponents. They had a bit of a day out there, didn't they? 20 goals, 18, 138 to North Melbourne, looking very much like cellar dwellers, 12-9-81.
Yeah, they're.
Then we saw the Dockers and the Bulldogs after that, where Fremantle finally decided to play a bit more free-flowing football and
put it all together,
give themselves a chance to score a winning score. 14-11-95. Finally stopped scoring 9-9-63 for a change. To the Bulldogs, 10-11-71. You don't know what you're going to get with the Bulldogs, do you? They're like a box of chocolates.
Yeah, they're very hot and cold.
Yeah, 1 week they're brilliant. The next week they're terrible. So 10-11-71. The Dockers by 4 goals and giving themselves a chance of playing in the top 8.
Mate, this ladder is not updated, so we're going to ignore it. That is clearly not updated because that's all played 6. So we are going.
We haven't finished. We haven't finished, by the way. Hang on, Paul. Hang on. Whoa,
well, mate, these graphics are all over the shop, mate.
All right, don't worry about the graphics. I'll tell you, there's 2 more games. Gold Coast versus West Coast. We had, of course, Gold Coast over there on the Gold Coast win 17 goals, 10, 112 to West Coast 12-3, 75. That broke a little mini winning streak for the Eagles of 2 in a row. And, of course, the Suns ended up winning that by 37 points, as expected. And today at the MCG, the Sydney Swans showing their class, 18-10, 118 to Hawthorn, 5 goals, 12-42. And after winning last week, Hawthorn have come back to earth with a thud.
Boom.
So now we can go to the ladder.
Yes, let's provide the listeners and viewers with the updated ladder.
Yeah.
Have you got it in front of you? I've got it in front of me.
Yes, I have. I don't think the one you put up before was the right one. So anyway, Geelong is the only undefeated team on 28 points, 7 wins from 7 games.
Joe's copping a whack here. Shocking from Joe. Terrible. Maybe the weather's not good, mate. Either that or he went years before he did it.
Maybe. Geelong, 7 wins. They're the only undefeated team. Sydney and GWS are second and third, both on 6 wins. Then you've got 3 teams on 5 wins, which is Melbourne, Port Adelaide, and then Carlton in 6th position, all on 20 points, separated on percentage. Then you've got Essendon and Fremantle bringing up 7th and 8th. Essendon, of course, with 4.5 wins now with that draw against Collingwood. So they're in 7th, 2 points ahead of Fremantle on 16, and they're in the 8th at the expense of Gold Coast, who are also on 16 on a worse percentage. Then you've got Collingwood on only 3.5 wins out of 7 games. So only won basically half of their games so far.
Yep.
Poor percentage too of 97.9. So we play them on Friday. Western Bulldogs, they're the only team on 3 wins. Then you've got 4 teams on 2 wins, which are Adelaide, Brisbane, St Kilda and West Coast. And you've got to say, big question marks as to whether any of those teams can make the 8 now. Wouldn't you think? Adelaide, Brisbane. Can you see any of those making the 8?
The only one who I think would potentially go on a run, just given what they did last year, is Brisbane, but they don't look like they're capable of doing it.
Can you see Adelaide maybe?
No.
Or St Kilda?
No. Maybe the
Saints.
Saints.
Be doubtful, isn't
maybe
it?
the Saints. Maybe the Saints. But yeah.
Anyway, I think the last 3 teams definitely look well. In fact, you'd have to say West Coast as well. They're not going to make the 8. They're on 2 wins. Richmond and Hawthorn are on 1. And North Melbourne are winless, the only winless team after 7 rounds, bringing up the rear. Interesting ladder. Carlton, a big opportunity to go back somewhere near top 4 if we can get over Collingwood on Friday night.
Yeah, it's obviously a big game on Friday night, a big game. All right, time is of the essence, of course, so let's get on to this, shall we?
Time is of the essence so much that I'm not even going to bother. I'm not going to even bother having a verdict this week.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Well, Paul, what can I say? I've had a whack at the AFL that much in the last 2 or 3 weeks, probably most of the season.
Give us a good verdict then. Give us a good verdict.
Will. That's what I was going to do. I was going to give them a little bit of a break this week in saying that at least it appears, I'm not sure whether it's really the case, but it appears that there's finally been an instruction given to goal umpires to back their judgment and to make a call. And that if it is in fact the wrong call, that in that 30 or 40 seconds between when they score a point or a goal and they bring the ball back into the middle, that they will review it behind the scenes. And if it happens to be wrong, they'll recall the ball. Now, that surely has livened the games up. It's given fans a lot more enjoyment out of goals that are scored rather than having every second goal reviewed. And I think it seems to have worked at least this week. So I'd like to see that continue. I'd like them to tell goal umpires, just pretend there is no review. Just call it as you see it, and we will review it behind the scenes.
Love it.
That's what I'd like to see.
There's big Vincenzo's verdict. So he didn't have one. Now he's got one, and he's gone bang.
That's it.
There you go. See?
And we can give him a bit of love sometimes now too.
We got this. Was this your bet of the week over the weekend?
Now, this is the bet of the week. We thought, you know what? We would have got up if it wasn't for the draw. If it wasn't for bloody Collingwood, if they got up over Essendon, we would have had it.
Well, I think you still get a collect with this because I'm certain that depending on where you take multis, if there's a draw, they void that leg and then you get added in. So I've got a feeling that some bookies might have paid out, but they would have just voided that second leg there. So you might have been on a winner.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you get paid? Do you get paid half of the dividend?
Yeah, so it would be what were the odds? What were the odds?
Well, it was $4.20. If you multiply all of those, it came out to $4.20. So my suggested bet was $10 and get a payout of $42.50.
Right.
Did I say $4.20? $4.25 should have been the odds.
$4.25. So it would be $4.25 divided by $1.50. 4.25 divided by $1.50. Really? You'd have got $2.83. Yep. That's what you would have got. So they take that percentage out of the odds there. So
$28.30 then we got back.
There you go. Depending on where you shop.
I'll have to tell Joe. So anyway, that was last week. I thought we basically would have done our dough because of the draw. But anyway, maybe you're right. Now, this
might be different, that figure.
This week, I thought I'd make it simple.
All right.
So this is saying that the balance is down to $76.40. Well, that's going to be wrong now, isn't it?
Yeah. No. You'll be up depending on where you shop.
Now, hang on. Where's my bet of the week this week?
No idea. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
The week? No, Rich, you've doubled up. He's unfortunately doubled up. Joe, mate, come on. This is not good enough. I'm
going to make it nice and easy for you, Paul. Well, you touched on this earlier, and I'm glad you did, because my bet of the week next week is not a multi. It's a straight-out one bet.
All right.
And it's Carlton to beat Collingwood at the line, $1.90. I'll take that. And look, I think we'll put $40 on it.
All right, $40. I was going to say all in, but anyway.
No, $40 at $1.90. Yeah. Hopefully that wins us back. How much is that going to get us back?
What do you got? Hold on, 40 by $1.90. What's that?
76.
40 times 1.9 will get you.
I've just done it in my head.
$76, $36 profit. There you go.
$36 profit. So hopefully that gets us over the line, and we can knock over the Magpies on Friday night.
Yep, that'll be great. Upcoming shows. Here we go. Bang. Doesn't end, does it? Rightio. Tuesday night, Jumper Punch live. Bang, get on it. David Rhys Jones going to join us. We're going to have a big chat about Carlton versus Collingwood, Prader-Willi syndrome, the telethon, the donation-a-thon. We're going to have a link in the chat. I did see Gianna Harris ask for the link. Gianna, can you send us Gina, Gina, can you please send us an email to the jumperpunch@gmail.com, and we will send you the details of that before we actually go live on Tuesday night. So to Gina, send us an email, thejumperpunch@gmail.com, and we'll organise that for you. Wednesday night, rocking all over the burb, 6 p.m. Bang. We're going to be in South Melbourne. Wednesday night, Forever Rivals. Geez, that's going to be a good one. My goodness, Carlton versus Collingwood. There's going to be a bit going on there between Manny and Rocco. The change room, of course, with our man Sam, the coach, and Richard Hussain, Rash. Double with Luca and Dylan. And then next Sunday, 7:30 p.m., this show is going to go bang again. So you might see me. You might see me back next week.
If Joe decides to take another week off, you're more than welcome, Paul, because I don't know anyone else that'll bother with us.
He can if he wants, mate. He can if he wants. Rightio, just to finish up, at Blue Sunday, at the Jumper Punch Facebook, Jumper Punch on YouTube, and the Jumper Punch on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on all socials and like, share, and subscribe. To everybody in the chat tonight, thank you very much. To all those who have been on during the live show, who have been viewing and who may not be in the chat, we love you all. Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. You can follow my personal Twitter as well at PaoloSeb05. Just type in my name, Paul Sebastiani, and you'll be able to find me on Twitter as well. So looking forward to what's going to be. It's going to be a massive week. I'm actually working on as well, Vince. I'm working on at work at SEN. I'm hoping to do a bit of a podcast-a-thon. So I'm going to hopefully put together a podcast every single day from Monday through to Thursday in the lead up to Carlton Collingwood. So stay tuned for that. Blues Radio is returning next Friday night. It has been confirmed, not officially, but it will be official. Ange Christou and Anthony Koutafidis will be on the call. Blues Radio on SEN. So that's going to be an absolute cracker. If you're at the ground.
With you? Is that with you?
We'll see.
It should be.
We'll see. Blues Radio is back. Ange Christou and Anthony Koutafidis, 99% certain to be involved with that. So it's great to organise that with Ange over the weekend. So he's lock, stock and barrel for that. So if you're at the ground, download the SEN app and you'll be able to listen to it via SEN Fanatic. So that's going to be an absolute cracker. So it's a Blues Buyers call. You don't have to hear the mainstream. If you don't want to, you can hear a call just completely dedicated to the Carlton Football Club against Collingwood. So SEN, we're doing great things this year. And so is the Jumper Punch, Vince, and so are you. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Thank you, Paul. I must say thanks again, mate, for stepping up this week and filling in for Joe. And you've done a magnificent job. I'm sure everyone will agree. All of our regular viewers will have seen you, no doubt, before on the Jumper Punch and on various other shows on social media. And you're giving them even more. News. What's this? SEN is
fake news. Not when I'm on.
Come on, Ratsack. What are you talking about, Ratsack?
Not when I'm on. I'm the truth teller, baby.
That's it. No, Paul, cheers, mate. Cheers to you. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks again for stepping up, mate.
Thanks to everybody who was in the chat. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. We will see you on Tuesday night. Go Blues.
You will indeed. Go Blues.